I'm Justin Keay, Field Specialist in Horticulture for University of Missouri Extension. I'm going to talk today about fall cover crops for vegetable production and give a brief overview of some of the options Missouri producers have. Legume cover crops such as crimson clover, hairy vetch, Austrian winter peas, and cowpeas are capable of fixing a substantial amount of atmospheric nitrogen. Most vegetable crops require between 100 and 220 pounds of nitrogen per acre. Use of legume cover crops can help supplement a substantial portion of nitrogen fertilizer requirements. When you're planting cover crops, just like a cash crop, it's important to prepare the seedbed appropriately. Establishment of cover crops will be enhanced through mechanical preparation of the soil or use of hand tools to help up the soil surface and provide better seed to soil contact. It's important to remove or kill all weeds before planting. Cover crops won't be able to compete with already established weeds. You can broadcast by hand, use a belly seeder or a fertilizer spreader. You can drop them using a drop spreader. You can use a wide variety of both hand and mechanical tools to help seed your cover crop. Covering the seed will also help enhance establishment. This can be done also with hand tools or with a variety of different tractor tools such as a light harrow, cultipacker, or a firmer roller. You can also put a light layer of compost down on top of the seed to cover it. You can water the seed after planting, or better, time before a light rain to help enhance establishment. These are just some of the tools that could be used to plant cover crop seed, and at the bottom right is a cultipacker that could help firm and incorporate the seed into the soil. Considerations for cover crops is whether they are generally planted in the fall, spring, or summer. You also need to consider the days to maturity and how long it will take for that cover crop to do its job. You need to consider how it will be killed. Is it frost killed, winter killed? Will it need to be terminated by mowing or other methods? You also want to remember to terminate cover crops before they produce mature seed. Cover crop seeds can become weed seeds in the following crop. Your management goals of whether you want to fix nitrogen, suppress weeds, increase organic matter will all influence the cover crop chosen. Most importantly, you need to consider what cash crop will follow this cover crop in a given plot. There's always a balance when planting cover crops between nitrogen fixation and heavy or high residue and organic matter. Legumes such as cowpeas, hairy vetch, and others, they do a great job of fixing nitrogen, but they don't leave high residue or contribute much to soil organic matter. Grasses such as cereal rye, Japanese millet, and others produce lots of biomass, build soil organic matter more rapidly, but they don't fix nitrogen, and they also can tie up nitrogen in soils due to their high carbon to nitrogen ratio. Tillage radish and buckwheat neither fix nitrogen or have high residue, but they both serve their own functions on the farm. This is a chart from SARE, Managing Cover Crops Profitably. This is a great comprehensive resource that has everything from seeding depth, seeding rates, costs, and more detail on every cover crop species listed here. Cover crops for fall plantings can be thought of in two major considerations. Whether you're planting a high residue cover crop that can be terminated and left on the soil for mulch and weed suppression, this would be appropriate for larger transplanted crops such as tomatoes and others, or cover crops that are low residue, like tillage radish that can be planted directly the following spring or tilled and planted. For fall plantings of cover crops, most generally occur from mid-August to mid-September, and this will give you the maximum amount of time for growth. Cereal rye can be planted up to Thanksgiving. Some simple options like tillage radish is a good try if you haven't used cover crops before. There's very little, if any, residue left on the soil the following season, and seeding rates are about 15 pounds per acre. Oats is another common cover crop used in vegetable systems. It will winter kill and leaves low residue. Austrian winter peas will also winter kill, but are capable of fixing nitrogen. Hairy vetch is a winter annual that can be planted in the fall and terminated in the spring using a variety of different methods. Cereal rye is also a winter annual that is often planted as a companion to hairy vetch. This is an example of a no-till high-residue cover crop system. Cereal rye and hairy vetch, planted at 75 and 25% by weight, were planted the preceding fall and killed the following spring and later this tomato crop was planted and established. These kind of high residue systems can do a great job of suppressing weeds for a majority of the growing season. This is another example of inserting cover crops into a fall vegetable rotation. White clover was planted at the time of transplant of a fall broccoli crop. After the broccoli crop is harvested, the white clover will fill in and provide great winter cover and fixed nitrogen for the following crop. This is a picture of a plot where tillage radishes were planted the fall prior to the seeding of this spinach crop. There's very little residue that's left on the soil surface, and the fall planting of tillage radishes actually reduces winter and early spring weeds. This is an example of using tarps to kill cover crops, weeds, and degrade residue. Silage tarps are commonly used, but billboard tarps are also being used for this purpose. Sickle bar mowers have also been shown effective to mow high residue cover crops like hairy vetch and cereal rye. This is a picture of a crimper roller. Crimper rollers are more commonly used in row crop production systems, although smaller crimper rollers are available for smaller horsepower tractors for use on vegetable farms. When you're considering cover crops, you need to ask yourself, what are your management goals for planting that cover crop? How will that cover crop be planted? What will you plant after? How and when you will terminate that cover crop? And are any inoculants needed? If you're using legume cover crops like cowpeas, clover, and hairy vetch, consider that these different cover crops might have different bacterial inoculant species, so make sure you buy an appropriate inoculant for that cover crop to ensure maximum nitrogen fixation. Most importantly, start small. As with any management consideration on a farm, it's always better to start very small, learn what works on your operation, and build on those successes. This is the book that I referenced before. It's available for free as a download, Managing Cover Crops Profitably, one of the most comprehensive resources on cover crops for use both in row crop production, vegetable production, as well as perennial crops.